James Hayashi, McGrath Estate Agents. Thanks so much for joining the series, mate. Great to see you again.
Good to see you again, Trent. How you been?
Very good, thanks. Always a big month for McGrath, but I'm sure it was a big weekend as well. Why don't you run me through some of your auction results for the McGrath network for last weekend?
Yeah, look, so we ran at a 60% clearance rate for the weekend across the company-owned offices. We sold 15 prior of the auctions booked, 8 on the day. Look, a pretty average clearance rate for this time of the market. Not out of line with where the rest of the market's currently sitting, but what we're sort of expecting for these current conditions.
Gotcha. Just touching on clearance rates, like let's say I'm a buyer, what does that actually mean? Explain to me a little bit more the clearance rate.
Oh, look, the clearance rate to me is more sort of a general overview of how the general market is performing. Clearance rates for a buyer and a seller, well, that really depends on the type of property that you're actually looking to buy or that you're trading. Because the broad Sydney clearance rate covers everywhere from Bondi Beach out to sort of Blacktown and Liverpool areas like that. So the markets are all very different and they get affected differently by market conditions. So it's more of like a pulse check for how the market's going. When we're seeing 60% clearance rate, that is, like I said, more of like an average market. It's not anything that's sort of poorly performing. When you hit in sort of the 50s and thereabouts, that's when we start to see, right, okay, that's when times are pretty tough. Anything 70 and above, we seem to be, quite a strong marketplace. So like I said, we're in kind of an average market here.
Gotcha. And I guess any notable sales that you wanted to kind of touch on over the weekend? What did you guys get up to?
Yeah, we had a couple of good sales. One in Victoria Street, Torella, sold by Alexandra Samatua Buddha from our Larcard office. That was an unrenovated 2-bedroom semi. Sold at auction for $835,000. That was well above reserve. And then another house out in Castle Hill by David Choi. That was fully renovated family home on just over 1,000 square meters of land. That's sold $110,000 above the reserve price.
Gotcha. And I guess in terms of listing levels, are you kind of seeing them they're quite low at the moment, and you think it's going to be a bit of an early spring or a late spring? Like, how do you see the next kind of couple of months panning out anyway in terms of potentially more stock coming onto the market or not more stock coming onto the market?
Yeah, I think we've actually, the race has already started with stock. Spring's definitely come early this year. We're running a race where you don't actually hear the starter's gun. It's really about the listing volumes that come through. So there was an AFR article that came out last Friday or Thursday, I think it was, where they suggested that there's 12.3% more listings on the market for June than there were in May. So we're definitely seeing the volumes come up. I know that one of my colleagues down in the Coogee office listed 8 last week, which is quite a high number for 1 week in terms of listing volume. So it's definitely picking up. In the sort of sub 1.2, 1.3 price points, there is quite a lot of stock on the market at the moment, and that should continue to rise. The housing market's still performing very well, though. There aren't a lot of houses on the market, anywhere sort of 2.5 million plus. I'm talking about sort of Sydney metro area here. There's still quite a high demand. We are seeing good levels of people coming through the open home, so a good number of inspections. But there's a lot of buyers who are lacking the confidence or knowledge around purchasing opportunities. So it'll take some time for them to understand pricing and where they see good value at.
Gotcha. And I guess, do you think for buyers, they'll be really active, I guess, in the next kind of couple of months, or I guess more active now in the next kind of couple of months rather than now? Is that your kind of gut feel? Springs, like you said, it's going to be an earlier spring, but the guys that have been waiting over the last kind of, I guess, first half of the year will potentially transact spring, or I guess maybe after spring as well?
Look, what I think is that the buyers will start, and I've seen this time and again, where listing levels do increase, that there's less competition for the buyers and they have more time to make decisions. But with that, they have time to sort of confuse themselves and overthink a transaction. You see a lot of people who enter these markets, they're just waiting for the bottom of the market to come, but still trying to find that right property. So they're trying to really align the stars, which is quite impossible to do. So the best possible property for the lowest possible price, but the market can change at any point in time. So what I do say to buyers is, right, if you like the property, if it makes commercial sense, and you can afford to buy it, then you should act on it here and today, because you never know what's going to happen. And for most people who are buying in the areas that we sell in, this is not just a short-term commitment. They'll be owning this property for 5 years plus. So, generally speaking, they should see great return on their investment over that period of time. If it is a longer-term hold, then, it'll hold them in good stead for years to come. But again, it's about, making that decision to actually purchase and not listening to too much noise in the media, the friends, the family members, whatever it may be. There's always a reason to talk you out of a property, but they're the reasons why people miss out on great opportunities and create great wealth in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess how does a buyer stick out to a real estate agent? Like, I mean, you guys deal with so many different buyers over so many different properties. Are there some things that a buyer could do to kind of stand out more? Is it like pre-approval? Is that a big thing? Like, hey, I've got pre-approval, I'm ready to go, so I'm going to stick out more than some of the other guys. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have any tips for buyers in terms of standing out to real estate agents?
Yeah, be transparent with the agent you're working with. I mean, no one puts pressure on a buyer to pay a price, but if you sit there and you put your hand up and you're like, hey, Trent, I'm a buyer, I'm looking at a budget between $1.5 and $2 million. I want X, Y, and Z. Let's talk, let's stay in touch. Tell me what you have coming up. The reason why I would suggest buyers to do that is they can get earlier access to properties. So agents obviously have a lead in time when they do list a property, from the time they sign up to the photo shoot to going live on the listing portals. They can obviously get in there and have an opportunity to see the property before the rest of the market. It allows them more time to make a decision. There's more time at the inspection. There's less pressure in terms of time constraint, 30-minute opens, things like that. So just identifying yourself and being upfront with the agents, having an open dialogue, finding an agent you work with really well, and then keeping abreast of, what you're looking at, what you're making offers on, and what you're comparing properties to. Because again, they might have something that they've seen 6 months ago, that they're just waiting for the right buyer to come along and could get you in the door of something that won't necessarily come to market. Yeah,
gotcha. I mean, some great advice for buyers there. And I guess just a bit of a wrap for the month. How did you think that the month kind of panned out? Any things that you noticed differently from I guess this month to last month? How do you see that month kind of panning out?
Look, we finished very strong. As a company, I can't go into too many details now because obviously we're going to be releasing results soon. But we did finish ahead of where we thought we'd be, both in terms of sales, GCI, number of properties sold, and number of new listings. The number of new listings is really interesting to me because it shows that we've actually got the stock that will carry us through. Where typically, your June, July is a quieter period. We're coming to school holidays now, where the markets are typically shut down. Because there's travel restrictions still in play, a lot of people are actually not going away. So that's why we're seeing a good number of people out there looking at properties. Interesting part is that we're seeing people who, there's a lot of demand from both up and down sizes, because now they can make that move. They might not be going away on the European holiday or whatnot. So they can actually focus their funds back into their property. Also, what we're hearing is a lot of people doing updates. So the renovations they've been putting off, or they decide they need a study or doing the gardens, whatever it may be, we're seeing more people do those home improvements. With this whole COVID situation, I guess we've really seen, that people are really looking at a home, not just where they're sleeping and, raising the family, but this is where they're spending a lot of time now. So having that comfortable place to live and grow and to be is very important to a lot of people.
Gotcha. James Hayashi, it's always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining the series.
Good on you, Trent. Thanks, mate.
Thanks for watching. If you want to check out more, visit sohoapp.com, or if you're looking at adding your properties into Soho and connecting your CRM, check out the links in the description below.